Okay, so this is lesson 2A, lesson type 3 equations. Equations in the form ax plus b equals c. So the big thing with this is that in the last ones we looked at, there was only one step involved to solve. Here we're going to require two steps, both an addition and subtraction step followed by a multiplication division step. Now, it's important to do the addition subtraction first, so remove the constant first, and then you can remove the coefficient using an inverse process. As well, if it doesn't have a coefficient, it has a coefficient of 1, okay? And really that's going to matter most when we're dealing with a negative one, but it's important for us to remember that. So now, so as I've said, we're going to remove the constant first, so doing the opposite of the adding, subtracting operation, and then doing the multiplication and division. Remember I talked about it being like unwrapping a present. You have to take the wrapping paper off first before you can open up the box. So it's almost like reverse order of operations when we're solving these equations. So that's how that's going to work. So looking at this one, we have 3c plus 8 equals 101. So first step we're going to do is remove the the constant. So we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. So we'll get 3c is equal to 101 minus 8. So 101 minus 8 is 93. And on the way that worked, remember, plus 8 minus 8 equals 0. So 101 minus 8 was 93. Oops. And then the next step we do is we're going to remove that 3 by dividing, because it's multiplied, and the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we will get c is equal to 93 divided by 3, which is equal to 31. Okay? So you're doing the same operations you were doing, it's just now you have to do 2 operations to solve as opposed to 1. So here, we're going to remove the constant first, so it's a minus 8, so we're going to add 8 to both sides. So I'll get minus 2b is equal to 18. And remember, minus 8 plus 8 equals 0. Then we're going to divide both sides by that negative 2. And I will get b is equal to, well, 18 divided by negative 2 is negative 9. Okay. Okay, now here, again, don't worry about that over 4, because the first thing we're going to do is we're going to minus the 5 from both sides. When we do that, plus 5 minus 5 is equal to 0. So I'll get d over 4 is equal to negative 8 minus 5. So negative 8 minus 5 is equal to negative 13. Now I want to get rid of that 4. So I'm going to times both sides by 4, right? And on this side, 4 divided by 4 equals 1. So it goes away. d is equal to negative 13 times 4, which is negative 52. Okay, so take a look there. Alrighty, let's do a few more. So it's pretty similar operations. Take it step by step. And that's the best way to do it with these equations, is just go step by step, and it should help you out there. So here, first step is we're going to get rid of that constant. So it's a negative 8, so I'm going to add 8 to both sides. Right, when I do that, negative 8 plus 8 is 0. So I'm left with 2/3 n is equal to 12 plus 8 is 20. And then what I want to do is I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So that would be times 2 over 3. Oh, no, it wouldn't, Miss Finley. Oops. Times 3. You got to do the same thing to both sides, right? Now, how does this work on this side with the n? Well, the 3 divides out with the 3 there, and the 2 divides out with the 2 there. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, 2 divided by 2 is 1. Okay, so we're left with n is equal to, well, remember, we can have it like having 20 over 1. 20 times 3 is equal to 60, and 1 times 2 is equal to 2. And one last step, 60 over 2 equals 30. Okay? Alrighty. Take a moment if you need to. Okay. Here, first thing we want to do is we want to get rid of that 8. So we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. Okay? On this side, plus 8 minus 8 will equal 0. So I'll have negative f over 5 is equal to negative 2 minus 8, which is negative 10. Now I'm going to multiply this by 5. So I have to multiply this by 5 because I have to do the same thing to both sides. The 5 divides out. Now I have negative f is equal to negative 10 times 5, which is negative 50. Now I'm not done because I have to divide negative 1 out of both sides. And I have to do that because I want to have a positive f. I want to know the value of positive f. So negative 50 divided by 1 is positive 50. So don't forget about that negative sign. You still need to move it and get rid of it. Okay? Alrighty. Another one here. I have 17 minus t equals 12. So 17 is positive, so I'm going to subtract 17 from both sides. Okay, when I do that, 17 minus 17 equals 0. So I'm left with minus t. You'll notice that negative sign is still there, right? That's on the t. Okay, so important to note that. Oops. Is equal to, well, 12 minus 17 is negative 5. Now, I want to get rid of that negative, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. On this side, negative 1 divided by negative 1 is positive 1, so I'll get t is equal to, well, negative 5 divided by negative 1 is positive 5. Okay? Alrighty. Now this will be the time where you could pause it, try these on your own, and when you're done, come back, press play, see if you got them right. So, you're back. Okay. So, we're going to solve here. So our first step is to minus 4 from both sides. So I'll get 3x is equal to, those cancel out, negative 18. Divide both sides by 3. Those cancel out. Now we'll get negative 6. Okay, next one. Here I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. So those will cancel out. So I'll have negative 2x is equal to 22 minus 6, which is 16. Then I divide both sides by negative 2. Those cancel out. And I will get x is equal to negative 8. Okay, hopefully we're getting them right. That's what I want. Here, we're going to add 6 to both sides because adding 6 is the opposite of subtracting 6. So negative 6 plus 6 equals 0. So v over 8 is equal to negative 1 plus 6, which is 5. Then I'm going to time both sides by 8. Okay. On this side, the 8 divides out. And I'm left with v is equal to 5 times 8 is 40. Okay. Well, that's it for that one. Okay. Over here to D. So you see, hopefully you're seeing a pattern. So here I have a plus 1, so I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. So I'll have 2/3 k. This disappears is equal to negative 16. I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal, 3 over 2. Cancels out on this side. So I'll be left with k is equal to, remember, this is like having 16 over 1. So I would have 16 times 3 is 48, and it's negative over 2. So negative 48 divided by 2 is negative 24. And at any point, if you're not sure, if you want to just check it, you can take that 24 and you can substitute it back into the original equation and check both sides, left side versus right side. It's a good habit to get into. There's lots of math where that becomes very, very important. Okay? All right, so here, we're going to subtract 100 from both sides. Ooh. 100 minus 100 is 0. So I have negative x is equal to, well, 100 minus 100 is equal to 0. Now, I want to get rid of that negative sign. So x will equal, well, 0 divided by anything is still 0. So x equals 0. Okay. And last one. Ooh, it's all fractions. Well, that happens. So 1/2 x, we're going to add 2/3 to both sides, right? Because we want this to go away. It's equal to 5/6 plus 2/3. Let's do a little common denominatoring. Don't worry about the 1/2 x for now. Common denominator is 6. So 2/3, I have to multiply the 3 by a 2. So multiplying the 2 by a 2 gives me 4. So 1/2 x is equal to, well, 5 plus 4 is 9. Now I can leave it like that. And the next step is I want to get rid of the 1/2. So I'm going to multiply this by 2 over 1, basically multiplying by the reciprocal. On this side, 2 divides out with 1, and 1 divides out with 1. So I will get x is equal to, well, I'll get 9 times 2, which is 18. Over 6, so x will equal 3. Okay. There are shorter ways to do this one as long as you got to the right answer. Great. I like to do showing all the steps for those of you who like to see all the steps. Okay. So, but if you don't worry if you say, Miss, if I got it by doing this, chances are you're right. As long as you got x equals 3. And remember, at any point, you can take that 3, substitute it into the original equation, and do a check. Check left side equals right side, okay? So you can do that work. Okay, now it's time for you to do some practice. Have fun. You can see on the next page, right? I think it's just one. No, it's a bit more work than that.